Hello my loves and welcome back to my channel. Today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you all the ways in which you can build your intuition and your psychic senses. So if you want to get really good at trusting yourself and getting intuitive downloads, knowing exactly where to go in life, what path to take, because intuition, by the way, and psychic senses don't just have to be used for predicting the future. It is also so beneficial to develop them for just using intuition in day-to-day life, knowing what choices are right for you, knowing what's meant for you, knowing how to get towards your desire. Your intuition, when you develop it, can help you with manifesting because then you know what action to take in life. And it just helps with so much. So if you want to develop your intuition and your psychic senses, then this is the video for you. It is so beneficial in all aspects of life, and I'm so excited to be sharing this with you. And let's go ahead and dive right in. So first off, I want to begin this video by saying that no matter who you are, everyone on this planet is born with intuition and is born with a sixth sense. Everyone. There's some people on this planet that like to gatekeep this and say, no, you're either born with psychic abilities or you're not. And it's true that some people are born with their third eye more open, more activated. Therefore, they do tend to have this psychic sense that's seemingly a little bit more stronger than your average person. But everyone has a sixth sense, and everyone has the ability to open it and build it and make it stronger. So I just want to make that clear before entering this video that in case you were curious about that, you have the ability to develop your intuition and your psychic senses to be very powerful. And these are the methods and tools that you can use in order to do so. And the first big question that I want to answer is, okay, well, how do I know whether the feelings that I'm getting are my intuition or whether they are fear? Or how do I even know what intuition feels like? That's a big question to address too, right? What does intuition even feel like? How do I know if I'm hearing my intuition or not? And all of that. So intuition comes in the form of emotions and feelings for the most part. There's different forms of psychic senses. There is clairaudience, clairsentience, there's a bunch of different ones, and all of these are linked to intuition. So you can get smells that are actually an intuitive psychic sense. You can get visions that are an intuitive psychic sense. But one of the most predominant ways that your intuition or your psychic senses will show up is within your feelings, inner gut feelings. That is usually the most predominant and most common way that your intuition is going to be speaking to you. However, you can also work on the other psychic senses as well. But for the purpose of today's video, we're going to be focusing on the most common and most predominant one that everyone has, which is the internal gut instincts, gut feelings, the internal emotional intuition. So it feels like an emotion that comes up and it feels like an inner knowing. Your intuition can be explained as the feelings of inner knowings. But these are also very different from fear-based inner knowings or personal projection inner knowings, because those are actually not your intuition. And there's a difference between them, and sometimes it can be very easy to mix these things up. So I'm going to explain a way in which you can begin to separate these and tell the difference. So when it comes to a personal projection, your personal projection might show up in the form of fear, such as like, oh, I've experienced this thing in the past and it led me to this, therefore I have a bad feeling about this right now, we shouldn't do it. And it might stem from a previous past experience or some sort of fear-based thing. That is actually a personal projection rather than your intuition, because your intuition, yes, it can warn you about things that you shouldn't do, but it's not going to come up in the form of extracting a past experience to make you stop doing the thing that you might be intuitively feeling negative about or pushed away from, nor is it going to speak to you in the form of fear. Intuition never uses like strong negative emotions to deter you from something. Instead, your intuition speaks to you through this feeling of an inner knowing. And I'm sure we've all had the experience before where maybe a certain opportunity popped up and we had this nudge internally, this gut inner knowing that said, I just feel something fishy about that. And it didn't come from a place of fear. It didn't feel like, ooh, I'm scared of that. That comes with a bad juju, mama juju. No, it's more like this inner knowing of like, I just know something's up with that. And then later on you find out, oh, that wasn't a good thing. I'm really glad I didn't end up doing that. Or even if you did go and do it, you're like, I did have that inner knowing prior. Okay, that was something that was trying to make itself known. Your intuition does not speak to you through fear. It doesn't do fear mongering. Your intuition is very subtle, right? So your intuition's not going to speak to you through these really powerful, crazy emotions. It's going to speak to you through, I just have this nudge. I just have this inner knowing. That's your intuition, and it's so subtle. So that's how you can know the difference between something that's a personal projection. A personal projection will come with a really strong emotion of like, no, don't do that because I've done this before and it led to this, or don't do that because I just know, and it's all this fear and all this, hyped up emotion. When it's a very strong hyped up emotion, it is a personal projection from yourself, your ego, your past, from fear, etc., versus the subtle ways that intuition speaks. It's very, again, subtle. Therefore, that's how you can tell the difference when something is a personal projection versus an intuitive feeling. And if you really want to tap into your intuition, especially if you're feeling like a lot of personal projection, you're like, okay, well, how do I tap into my psychic sense if I'm feeling all of this crazy emotion? So your intuition's actually always with you and it's always guiding you. But the thing about it is it's very subtle. So it's hard to tap into sometimes, and it's also very easy to miss, especially if you have a lot going on in your life, if you have a lot going on in your brain, a lot of thoughts that are passing through, a lot of emotions, a lot of experiences that you're having, a lot of external stimulation. If you have that right now, it's likely that you're not even really feeling your intuition much on a daily basis, and even when you do, you might doubt it. It might just seem like another passing thought or another passing emotion. So if you're really wanting to tap into your intuition and grow it and make it stronger and know how to decipher a regular thought or a regular emotion versus your intuition, it first comes down to quieting the mind and getting used to quieting the mind rather than constantly bombarding yourself with a lot of thoughts or a lot of things to do or a lot of external stimulation such as like TV, a lot of conversations. A lot of us as humans, we tend to want to keep ourselves busy a lot and we have a hard time sitting still. We have a hard time quieting our mind. And even when we're going to bed, sometimes our mind is like racing with thoughts and then we're getting insomnia and all of that. And if that's the case, it's likely that your intuition is being clouded by all of this kind of stimulation and all of this overactivity. So when you can begin to quiet yourself and make space in your life to practice quieting the mind, practice shutting down the external world, external stimulation, you're actually going to begin to learn the skill that is needed in order to begin tapping into your intuition in a very powerful way. Because your intuition is never not there. And I really want to make that clear. Your intuition is actually always speaking to you. It is always there, but your intuition is a very subtle force and it can easily go missed and it can easily get covered up and clouded up by all the other external things. So I highly recommend taking a practice in your day of either meditation or yoga where you're just focused on your breath, you're focused on your present moment, because this is going to allow you to tap into your intuition. Your intuition is a present moment feeling, and when you can become more present, and you can also again quiet the mind, which can be a hard thing to do, but the more that you practice quieting the mind is a muscle, and the more that you practice being in control of your mind, the more control that you're going to get over your life and the more control you're going to get over your intuition. And this is one of the most powerful tools that you can also build in your life for a multitude of reasons, because once you have dominion and power over your mind rather than your mind seeming to have power over you, this is going to help you control your life so much better in all different aspects besides just being able to tap into your intuition more predominantly. So this is a tool that is so helpful in all of life, and I highly recommend finding time and making space in your day-to-day life, even if it's just 2 minutes in your day to practice quieting your mind, to practice controlling your mind, not necessarily through control, because that's actually the wrong way to go about it. It's through letting your thoughts go. Anytime you notice a thought come up, let it go. Let it go. Practice doing that, and you're going to end up building the muscle of the mind to be able to control your mind more, and that's going to allow you to tap into your intuition a lot more. The next point that I want to make is self-trust. This is huge when it comes to your intuition, because as you begin quieting the mind and really learning how to do that, that is step one in to be able to, even tap into this subtle force, which is your intuition. But you also need a foundation of self-trust, because if you do not trust yourself, it's going to be really hard to trust your intuition, because your intuition is an aspect of you. And if you're constantly questioning every single feeling that you get, every single thought that you get, or you don't trust yourself to make decisions in your life, you don't feel confident with your decisions, it's going to also be really hard for you to be confident enough to actually begin to listen to your intuition and trust your intuition. So building self-trust and that internal independence where you can begin to rely on yourself is so powerful. So what I'd recommend doing is start to give yourself more power over yourself and over your life. So anytime that you make a promise to yourself, keep that promise. That builds self-trust. If you continue to break promises with yourself, you are going to lower your ability to trust yourself naturally, because just as if you've had a friend that's constantly breaking promises to you, you're not going to trust them very much. So begin to keep the promises that you make to yourself. Really start to give yourself your power back for that self-trust, that self-reliance, that self-independence. Start to give yourself more of that. And it's not saying that, seeking external opinions once in a while is bad. It's not bad. But when we're really wanting to build self-trust and self-independence and also tap into our intuition a lot more, this really is a helpful thing to begin to trust yourself a lot, at least most predominantly, rather than always relying on external people or external things, or again, just feeling a lack of self-trust in general. When we can build our self-trust, this will also help you tap into your intuition a lot more, especially once you start really uncovering your intuition and your psychic senses, because your intuition is actually your psychic senses. Both are the same thing. Intuition and psychic abilities are one and the same. Another thing that you can do in order to tap into your intuition more is to visualize your chakras opening. Specifically, your third eye and your crown chakra are the most important in this process, but opening all of your chakras can really help you channel more information. It can also help you increase your psychic senses and also help you tap into higher information, especially when you're wanting to access more information. So if you're really wanting to, be psychic or give a psychic reading for somebody else, for example, and you're trying to tap into their energy, or you're trying to just tap into more wisdom yourself, you can actually close down your eyes, and we have 7 main chakras within the body. And you can imagine them like lotus flowers opening. But while you do this, you also want to imagine that you are surrounded by a bubble of pure white light that is protecting you. Because as you open your chakras, you don't want to be open to just like all the things and all the everything. You want to be very intentional about what you're opening your intuition up to. Because a lot of the times we can get bombarded by all the different energies that are floating on around us. And that can be overwhelming, and it can be hard to decipher and find and pick out exactly what you're trying to look into, or exactly what you're trying to intuitively feel into. So we don't want to be super clouded, so we want to be intentional. We want to surround ourselves with that white light bubble, and then we also want to be intentional about what information we're trying to find. So if you're trying to ask the universe, like, oh, what is the path that I'm supposed to take in my future, or whatever the case may be, you want to ask that question, surround yourself in that bubble of pure white light, and ask that only information for your highest good is coming through at that time to come and be downloaded into you so that you can intuitively feel into it. So you can do that, but you want to be clear about whatever intention it is that you are putting out there, whatever it is that you're trying to seek or find intuitively, you want to add that intention. And then afterwards, you want to close down your chakras and then Of course, you can get rid of that bubble of white light, or you can even keep it there, but you want to reclose those chakras just so you're not constantly being open to all the energies that are around you and all of that. So that is another thing that you can do as well. And then a couple different extras that I'm going to add on the end here, different tools that you can use to really begin developing more of your psychic senses is first, I like to stay away from fluoride because all of your psychic senses, your intuition, is correlated to your third eye, which is also correlated to your pineal gland in your brain. And this gland gets calcified over time, and it especially gets calcified from things like fluoride. So there's fluoride in tap water, there's fluoride in certain toothpastes, mouthwashes, etc. I personally stay away from fluoride because it is known to calcify your pineal gland, and there's actually really interesting research on that. So I stay away from fluoride because that will help activate more of this pineal gland and keep it from calcifying. I also like to do meditations where I activate my third eye, and there's some meditations that you can listen to that will actually play certain frequencies that correlate to opening and activating your pineal gland or your third eye. And these frequencies also help with amplifying the energy of your third eye, which can help with your intuition, it can help with your psychic senses and developing them. You can also buy third eye tuning forks, and you can hold the frequency of that tuning fork when you activate the tuning fork. You can hold it near your third eye, and you will actually feel a vibration. At least I do. I feel it very intensely whenever I play a frequency right by my third eye. So that is another thing and method that you can use to begin developing and activating that energy center. It can also be really beneficial to do chakra cleansing meditations. So cleansing and releasing blocks that we might be holding in our chakras, because our chakras are these energy centers which can get clouded by different experiences, different emotions that we're holding on to, other things that we might be repressing unconsciously. And when we can clear our chakras, that also really opens us up to receiving more of the subtle energies that are around us, activating more of our intuition, and then also doing mindful practices such as yoga or meditation, just quieting the mind or becoming really present in the present moment through practices like yoga or again meditation. Those are very powerful at helping you develop and tap into your intuition a lot more, because it brings you back to the present moment and it helps you really build that mental mind muscle like we were talking about in the beginning. So those are all the different ways in which you can, well, that's not actually all the different ways, but that is a lot of the ways, at least the basics, to get you started with developing your intuition and your psychic senses, which will help you again so much in life in general, like not only just for predicting the future or reading into that. This also just helps you so much with manifesting and knowing the right direction to go in life and being able to tap into your intuition and have that power, which all of us have that power, right? We literally have this superpower of our intuition, and we can build it and we can work on it so we can become intuitive power horses where we just have inner knowings. And when it comes to manifesting our dream life, it's so much easier to know what's the right direction versus what's not, and what should I let go of, what should I leave behind, and et cetera, et cetera. It helps you so much with relationships and interacting with people and connecting with people on a deeper level. Your intuition is actually a huge part of that too. So developing your intuition is really just such a beautiful, human superpower that you get to have and tap into. So that is how you can begin building it and strengthening it. Thank you so much for joining me here for today's video. I'm sending you all so much love, and until next time, bye.